Hello, Jared the Wyrd-Worker here. In this video, I want to talk about finding the deities you want to pray to and work with. Before we get right into that though, I want to promote a new video playlist I'm working on. It's called Pagan Prayers, and is a collection of videos in which I recite prayers that I have written. The prayers will cover different topics and events, such as invoking a given deity into your life, aligning yourself to seek to bring out justice into the world, or seeking comfort during the grieving process. Many of the prayers will be addressed to Norse deities and refer to their myths, mainly because those are the deities I'm most familiar with and work with regularly. A few won't mention a specific deity, but will be more generic. I'll be posting one pagan prayer video every week on Monday, providing I have one to post on a given Monday, of course. You can help me out with that, because if there's a situation or occasion or event you'd like me to write a prayer for, you can contact me and I'll see if I can oblige. And be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can more easily see when I add new pagan prayer videos. In fact, the first one is already up, and it's my invocation to Freya. This video was inspired by a Twitter user who read my invocation to Freya and asked me how someone decides what deities to pray to. She went on to ask me if deities had specializations like Catholic saints often do. Before I answer this most excellent line of questioning, I think it's important to explain a few things about my witchcraft practice that will influence my answer. Those whose witchcraft practices are different from mine might give different answers and even find my answer impractical and unhelpful. So please don't take my answer as the authoritative, one and only true way to approach the topic. This is more a combination of my personal opinion and what I found works for me in the witchcraft I practice. My practice is theistic in nature. I believe in deities, and I believe in involving them in my craft. I also tend to lean toward hard polytheism. That's the belief that each deity is a separate individual and is best approached as if they are a separate individual. And finally, my witchcraft tends to be devotional in nature, meaning that I tend to look toward establishing relationships with deities rather than calling on a deity for a single spell or ritual in a sort of one-off type event. So for me, deciding what deities to pray to is really about deciding what deities to build relationships with and devote myself to, what deities I want to actually have in my life. For me, this is often a matter of considering the myths of the various deities and getting a sense for what each deity is like and who appeals to you. In a lot of ways, this is a lot like deciding who you want to be friends with. When I meet a person, I look to see what common interests we have, and if those are something that I can and want to build a relationship around with them. To me, the process of approaching a deity works very similarly. So I might hear about a deity or run across one in my readings who piques my interest for some reason. For example, one of the things that attracted me to Freya was her unbridled and unapologetic sexuality. As a gay man and former Christian who was encouraged to feel ashamed of my sexuality, her sense of sexual freedom was something I admired greatly and wanted to emulate. So I decided to build a relationship with her. Reading the myths about a particular deity, and deities in general, is extremely helpful in this process. It's helpful to consider what myths tell you about a given deity and what you can learn from them, both the myths and the deity themselves. Reading a myth and thinking, hey, I really like that and I would like to be more like that, or I'd like to explore this lesson or concept more in my personal life, is a good indicator that that is a deity that is worth at least making a friendly overture toward. If you don't already have an idea of what deity you might want to relate to, it's also helpful to think about what your life goals are and what foundation you might want to build a relationship with a deity on. For example, if you're an artist and want to celebrate your artwork as part of your practice, and that's a noble pursuit that I highly encourage, then you might want to look into myths about deities who are artists, or deities who, were patrons of artists. That's where a deity's specialty comes in. I do want to offer a bit of caution about deities and specialties, however. In my experience and opinion, deities are very complex, and their myths often paint a picture of them that is much more three-dimensional than a simple statement of their specialties suggests. I would encourage you to get to know the much more complex deity and their whole personality, rather than focusing on them as, for example, a goddess of love. Knowing what kind of relationship you want with a deity also means that you can pray to a deity without having a particular one in mind. This is entirely valid in my view. I mean, it's nice to have a name to pray to, and especially having the myths that accompany a specific named deity, because then you can, use that in your devotional work and, in building your relationship with them. But I do believe it is possible to honor and relate to an unnamed deity as well. If you're inclined to have a devotional or working relationship with deities, I hope my suggestions here on how to determine who to build those relationships with are helpful to you. If so, please be sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button for my channel to keep up with future videos. Until next time, blessed be.